Gang, bring it up there, big. Okay, there's a piece of trivia for you. It just hit me in the head right there. Speaking of trivia, what television show made that expression popular? Righty Row. Righty Row was on TV for a while, and it got to be a national word. Yeah, like you remember, like Steve Allen used to use the word something or Steve Areno. Well, this guy used the word Righty Row constantly, and in fact, he was even selling a cereal, a fake cereal. Yes, eat Righty Rows every morning. And what was the show? Well, nobody knows nothing anymore. What the hell? Everybody's sitting out there. You're all made out of polyethylene, for God's sakes. Well, that's one good thing, though. You're all going to live forever, you know. All the plastic people are going to live forever. Sure, plastic is indestructible. I say that there are guys walking around the streets today, as long as they keep their mind pristine and virginal, that 5,000 years from now, they'll still be walking around. Although it won't do them any good. You know, speaking of trivia, just like the other day, I'm sitting there, I'm in this office, see, and you know, there was a day when you'd go to an office, you're going to wait for somebody official, like a dentist, you know, or somebody that was going to fit you with new iron shoes or something like that. And you go to these offices, and they have a little waiting room there. And there was a time when you'd sit down, and in the waiting room, they had National Geographics. I used to catch up on all my geography reading that way. And, I used to look forward to that. You know, there'd be a trip up the Orinoco. They had these great pictures. They pioneered in the topless picture, you know. They really did. They don't get credit for that. But there were a lot of geography fans that used to just look at the pictures, and I used to sit there and enjoy them pictures, you know, and read the National Geographic. And then they switched for a while there. For a while, you got stuff like a Reader's Digest. Yeah, for a while there, you remember? But I remember one day sitting in the dentist's office, see, and the guy didn't realize that out there in the waiting room, he had this Reader's Digest issue sitting out there. Everybody's reading it. It says, "Is your orthodontist a crook or not?" 7 pages with pictorial insert, you know, and you could hear this guy. Well, of course, I'm not leveling any charges, except that I know one guy who went to the same dentist for only 3 weeks, and that guy has been in debt for over 12 years now. And he tried to get a loan from the friendly loan company to, you know, you say but so I just have to put this down on record as the passing time. There was a time when the Reader's Digest was there. Then for a while there was the American Legion Monthly. Well, now wait a minute now, just a minute now. You know that the American Legion Monthly has some of the funniest cartoons around? And I'm not an American Legion fan. They happen to have funny cartoons. Now, that was there briefly. And then, of course, all during the anti-war riots of the 60s, the American Legion Monthly disappeared because it became a controversial magazine. Yeah, today's non-controversial thing tomorrow can be the subject of picketing and everything else. So I was observing the passing scene, you see, watching all these various magazines come and go. There was a time when every dentist waiting room was equipped with at least 8, maybe 10 issues of 2-year-old Look magazines. And Look has disappeared, yes. If the guy was really a hip dentist, it was Life magazine. But generally it was Look, see. Well, recently, though, you've been getting a different type of reading matter. And I was squatting in this professional waiting room there the other day, and what am I faced with but TV Guide? Now, I don't know what good browsing over TV Guide is in the waiting room. They didn't have a TV set in there. Just, I guess people now, reading TV Guide is separate now from even watching television. It's just it's gone off on its own. It's it's like reading the AMA journal, It doesn't have much to do with medicine, but it's got great reading, So, nevertheless, I was going through this thing, and I must admit that I am not the most dedicated of television fans. In fact, I rarely see television. Once in a while, a TV set will follow me down the street, and I can't escape it. But I'm not really a cuckoo bird when it comes to the boob tube. And I saw this show. These little best bets things. The best bet of the night. See, so I just wanted to know what the best bet was. And I looked through the thing there, and here was the best bet. It says Karen. Is there a show called Karen on? Well, it sounds like a horrendous show. Their description of it was unbelievably bad. It says, Karen is visited by an old school chum who has a bigoted, rotten, loudmouth husband. So I thought, well, that's kind of nice. And then it says, Karen discovers him in the act of attempting to bribe a congressman, but he doesn't get away with it. And I thought, gee, that sounds like an exciting show, just like Ordinary Life. I mean, I have a friend who constantly sits around at night and tries to bribe congressmen. Doesn't do any good. He's out of work, I don't know what the hell he's bribing him for, but he just wants to, be in on the action. And so I suppose that's really relevant type humor with the people out there. They love that stuff. And I watched Rhoda once, got as far as the second commercial, and I have never looked at it again. It's still on? Well, that's an indication of where we're going, what stays on. That's what bothers me. Then it's not what comes on, it's what stays on. And I have to agree with my old friend Marvin Kittman, who gave the Mediocrity for Philosophy Award to Kung Fu, which has about Kung Fu. He says Kung Fu. He says the collected works of the philosophy spouted by the leading character. I think his name is Ching Chang or Ching Ding or something like that. It says the leading character, when all of these are put together in book form, will found to have been originally written by Ching Chow, a little character that appears in the Daily News. You've seen that little chat? That's the cat. Yes, I agree. And I see my old friend. Everything has its day and comes back again. I see my old friend Kai D now has got a series, and I like that. Kai is an old friend of mine. Yeah, he's got a series called Khan. Well, you see what they did. They wanted to really bring out Charlie Chan again, but the rights are owned by somebody else. So they just changed the first letter, and it's K-H-A-N instead of C-H-A-N. So, oh my God, American society limps onward. Yes, it is. When in doubt, try a little plagiarism. It's been the secret of many a good writer. When in doubt, dip into somebody else. So would you please, if you prepare me something dramatic and romantic out there. Yes, well, it's very romantic, because you see, tonight, as we all know, it's St. Valentine's, right? It is. Oh, yes, it is. And, of course, you can see by watching the mail the passing times as they come and go, and the passing sexual mores. Give me a little of that romantic music there. That's beautiful. It certainly is. I got one Valentine this year. It was from some real smart type, I almost said it, a smart you-know-what. Right, it's a 3-letter word. A beast of burden. But nevertheless, this smart type sends me this Valentine. I was expecting to get Valentines, with lace and all that. You do every year. But here's what I got, see? It's a Valentine. It's got a heart. It's got a couple of monkeys in the middle of it, see? You can see it's an expensive Valentine. And the romantic slogan inside says, "Without you, life's an empty banana." And it's signed the WOR Management. What a joke. Bring that up there, please. Listen, I want to tell you, with the WOR Management, life is an empty banana. Bring it up there. Hold it there, Marty. Reset that. We will use that later on. I'll need that. Okay. Yeah, well, it is Valentine's Day. And we have some commercials to throw your way before we go any place here. Do you have a goodie in there? Okay, hit it, Martin.
My name is Romeo. Wherefore art thou? Have you got a candy for me?
Our name is Shafts, and have we got a candy for you?
So roll your eyes and pat your tummy. Lick your lips 'cause yum, yum, yummy.
Have you got a candy for you?
A chocolate
now wait till she says non-Corels. That's not right. It's for real. It is.
Spice, a crispy nut and a coconut, a caramel and a non-poet.
Wait, hold on. We got a candy for you.
Whether your Juliet likes her chocolates crispy or creamy, give her a big Valentine heart from Schrafft's. It's a gift full of your sweetest thoughts, because it's a heart full of Schrafft's yummiest chocolates.
Well, pat my tummy.
Have we got a candy for you?
From Shep.
Singing pretty well, you admit it. I think I'm scary sometimes, you guys. Right. Let's see. Now we have a word from the New Jersey Dodge dealers. Right. How'd you like to put a brand new Dodge in your garage and a check for 500 bananas in your pocket? Welcome to the Car Clearance Carnival at the Dodge Boys, and you can. The Dodge Boys are offering special deals on special Dodges. And this week's special is on any Dodge station wagon, including the Dodge Sportsman wagon. A lot of sportsmen have that one. Make your best deal on one and then find out how to collect your check from Dodge for at least $300. And also, if you trade in any full-size Ford or Chevrolet, now you can collect an additional $200 bonus. That's $500 in your pocket. But hurry, that's this week's special. That it can be seen at Ridge Dodge at Route 17 at Union Avenue in Woodridge, NJ. We got a candy for you. A have we got a deal for you? Have you my old friend Joe Garagiola? Yeah, it's hard to believe that Joe used to be one of the best men in the world at blocking the plate. Did you know that? Joe was really something else, blocking the plate. Everybody sees Joe Garagiola, they think he must have been a dumb catcher, right? He's one of the better ones, in fact. He was a goodie. Oh yeah, he was a good hitter. I think Garagiola hit a lifetime average. If anybody's got the Blue Book of Records out there, I think it's in the 275 to 280 area. Yeah, he was a goodie. Old Joe and I've known Joe for a long time. Did you know we used to do the Today Show together a lot? Oh yeah. And that was when Joe was just starting into TV. He just getting his feet wet there. And I'll give you a brass biglegee with bronze oak leaf palm. I will, if you're interested in that type of trivia. Who is the only ball club that I know of, the only one, I'm talking about Major League Baseball club, that had a girl play-by-play announcer? Okay. I'll let you think about that. While you're thinking about that, E.M. Frimbo is in love. He's lost his heart to a sleek, handsome creature who's sometimes sleek, handsome, who's sometimes fast, sometimes slow, occasionally on time, but don't wait too long, buddy. Don't hold your breath, but usually late. It's a train, let's face it. E.M. Frimbo is called the world's greatest railroad buff. And the Washington Post advises, go buy it. And you know how good they are and all that kind of stuff. All aboard with E.M. Frimbo, with 16 gorgeous line drawings from Grossman Publishers, a division of the Viking Press. It's going to cost you $8.95 at your bookstore now. Better be a good book at that price. All aboard with E.M. Frimbo. Right. With a name like that, you can't help but see Steve McQueen played a movie version, right? Riding Forever on America's Railroads. E.M. Frimbo. Let's see, Frimbo. It sounds like one of those things you dip into a clam dip. Yeah, give me one of them Frimbos. No, corn Frimbos. Right. Do you have another one in there? Hit it. Oh, yes. Yep.
Someday you'll own.
Yep.
Someday you'll own.
You'll own General's Razzmatazz. Yeah, for 60 years. General Tire. It seems longer than that, doesn't it? The way we had these commercials. For 60 years, General Tire has been one of the nation's leading tire manufacturers. But they mean more than tires. Yeah. They're experts. They're sitting around there and they'll solve any of your problems. Having trouble with your wife? Got a drinking problem? Drop in. They'll talk it over. Are you a compulsive gambler? Well, you stop in at your General Tire dealer. They've got it all going for you. And they'll also tell you how to take care of the tire problems, wheel alignments, and all that stuff. So for tires and service, check the Yeller pages of the General Tire headquarters. And sing the song loud and clear. Sooner or later, you'll own Generals. Well, all right. Thank you. This is WOR New York. And before we go any further, I would like to salute an adventurous American out there, if I may, in Portsmouth, New Hampshire. You've been up in colorful Portsmouth? It's very nice up there. It is. Right. But in the wintertime, it gets colder than a witch's you-know-what, I'll tell you. Right. No, that's a well-digger's you-know-what. A witch, something else gets cold there. But police in Portsmouth, New Hampshire found... it's a salute to America's first laundronaut. Police in Portsmouth, New Hampshire found this guy spinning away in a clothes dryer in a coin-operated laundry last week. You know, you put the quarter in, the thing goes around, and they came there. They rushed at it because the guy was in it himself. He was going around and around asking what the hell he was doing. He says, I wanted to see what it was like riding in a spaceship. He found out. He wrote in their new squad card. Yeah, they just got it for Christmas up there. And he tried out the back seat, the one with the cage around it. Yeah, well, it's all right. Listen, one time I was in a laundromat one time. I was driving along way up in New England. This was way the heck up. And this was way up in Maine. I will not tell you the name of the city. But I was driving up in Maine. It was late fall. And it was kind of chilly out. And you know, some of these laundromats are open all night. And you drive along, there's a little place all lit up, all laundromat. You know, you come in, you do your undies and, your socks, and you leave. See, well, I was looking for a phone. And I'm driving along, and I see this laundromat's got a phone in it, right? And so I pulled into this place. And I go in, and I pick up the phone, I dial, and start to talk to the party. I'm talking long distance, and there's nobody in the laundromat. It's me, except one of the machines was going. One of the machines goes, dum, 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 dum. It's going like that, see? Dum, 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 dum. And it was one of these machines where the thing spins, and it's got heat in it. It wasn't a washing machine that was going, it was a dryer, I guess. And it was, really going. See, dum 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 dum. And it's 2:00 in the morning, and there's nobody but me in there, and that damn machine going away there, and it just kept running. See, well, I'm on the phone for about 10 minutes. It was quite a call. In fact, I was calling Chicago. So all of a sudden, the guy runs in, and he sees that I'm in there. See, and he looks kind of funny, and he runs in, and he puts a quarter in that same machine. And presses the button again, I guess, to set the cycle again, so it would run another 15 minutes or whatever. And he runs out. He just turns around and runs. Looks at me and runs out. Well, I figured that, this is kind of interesting. So I stayed on the phone for a while. Then I finally hung up while I'm walking out, see. But as I walk out, I see across the street, I see these guys watching me. And they're looking at me, see. And they're across the street, and they're in a Jeep. And it's colder than hell. See, the wind is blowing. They're in this open Jeep, and they're watching me. And I said, what the heck's going on here? Well, as I walk past, I glance in, this thing's got a window in the front of it, the machine. And I see what they got in the machine. You expect, corduroy knickers, right? A cummerbund or something like that, right? That's what you expect up in Maine. Well, I'm walking along, and what do I see? They got this whole thing filled with, well, let's put it this way. It's the stuff, if you try to sneak it across the Mexican border, it's going to give you at least 5 years in the Slammaroonie. Right? And, yeah, they're drying it in the machine there, see? So, I very casually walked out. See, I was walking straight because these guys looked at me real suspiciously. I guess they figured I was Fuzz. I got the look in the eye of the Fuzz anyway. You notice that? So I walked out real casual, see? And I didn't make any sudden moves, because you never know what's going to happen. 2 o'clock in the morning when you fight. Can you imagine me getting busted in a laundromat making a long-distance phone call? I mean, that would really, can you imagine them believing it here, Well, I was just there making a phone call. What do you mean, in a laundromat? In the dismal Seepage, Maine? You're making a phone call? And you're busted with 700 pounds of pot? Are you kidding? What are you doing? And, I sneak out, and I get in the car, and I drive away. And I could see these guys looking out of the Jeep, watching me all around the street there. And just as I went around the corner, going back out onto the turnpike there, I go driving. And here I see, just pulled up in the weeds there, these guys were, what's the phrase? Let's see if you know your police terminology. Yeah, these guys are asleep in the front seat of old car number 7. And, yeah, 1 block away, there was a caper going on. Well, I didn't warn them. I didn't say anything. They might have been in on it. I don't know, That would have been one hell of a note, Shepard getting beat around the top of the head there because he's sticking his nose into somebody else's thing. But now, what's the phrase? What's the phrase? Come on. Right. No, it was no stakeout. What are you talking about? You don't sleep on a stakeout, theoretically. They were sleeping. There is a police phrase for that. Come on. What? Bundling? No. That's 17th century. No. What is it? They had a phrase. Don't you know what the phrase is? You don't watch Adam 12? You don't watch Police Story? You mean to tell me you haven't walked around some of those used car lot in Queens at night? Seen those guys hiding under the bridges there in their little green and white cars? Yeah. That's where when you're on the night shift, you got to get a few little moments of shut-eye there. And what do they call it? It's got a name. Well, I'm not here to lay it on you in that department. I have a few little spots I ought to do here. First of all, here's the New York Times is with us again. The Beatles haven't appeared together in more than 8 years. But the changes they made are still very much with us, according to the Times. You'll see for yourself how the Beatles have changed your life, even if you couldn't for the life of you hum a single one of their tunes. Let's see. And there's a story about Walt Frazier, better known as Clyde, the man who's fantastic on the basketball court, who's really extraordinary as a man about town. And this is kind of interesting. So speaking of towering structures, did you know that New York has the toughest fire safety law in the country? Yeah, it's kind of funny looking back on today. It was right out of the Towering Inferno today. Yeah, was Steve McQueen called on that one? He was there, huh? Good. There's no trouble. Get Steve and Paul Newman. You got it all solved. Hey, of course you realize that's the new mode in movies today. I mean, yeah. I mean, it used to be love stories. You remember when this guy would meet this girl? That's what the movie was about, see? And sometimes he was a soldier in the war. Sometimes he was a submarine commander. Sometimes he was a cowboy riding around. Other times he was, all these different things. But always it was involving this guy would not meet this girl, right? No longer. Nope, not since the great romantic couple Paul Newman and Steve McQueen hit the big silver screen. And now it's Elliot Gould and George Segal. That's another lovey-dovey pair. Oh, yeah, there's a whole bunch of them. I don't want to get into that sickening scene. It is. Let's see. Have you ever noticed how many times you've had to push a buzzer before being let into a store? That's never occurred to me yet. But it has to the Village Voice, which is our local paranoiac weekly. But nevertheless, the Village Voice, they've got a whole story about that, how you can't get into a lot of stores these days without pressing the buzzer now. Well, I don't know what kind of stores the Voice goes to or what they buy, but they used to have stores where you knock twice, a little door would open, the guy'd say, he'd say, hey, it's Louis. It's okay. And he'd slam the door. Okay, Voice, you're right there with it. It's the Village Voice has got this great story. Village Voice, buy it at the newsstand today. And keep ahead of the times. Mm-hmm. All right, hit the button, please, Marty.
When's the last time you enjoyed a real big chocolate bar? A big Three Musketeers bar. A Three Musketeers. Thick milk chocolate outside. Fluffy chocolate whip inside. Fluffy, not stuffy, so you won't feel full. A big Three Musketeers bar. Three Musketeers.
Yeah, M&M Mars has free tickets to the circus. Free tickets to the circus, waiting for 10 lucky school students and 10 of their friends each week for 10 weeks. And one lucky student will take the whole damn school to the circus. Free! It's the M&M Mars Greatest Show on Earth sweepstakes. Hear full details on this dynamic station. All right, M&M Mars, care of WOR, New York.
A big Three Musketeers bar. Three Musketeers.
Yep. All right, let's get the last commercial here. What do we got here? First edition. Okay, let's see what that's about.
For a probing discussion with the author of a current best-selling book, tune in for First Edition, tomorrow night at 11:30 to 12:30. Haywood Hale Broun, that brilliant man about books, hosts the show, and his guests include some of the most significant authors of our generation. That's First Edition, an hour of conversation about the ideas behind current books. 11:30 tomorrow night over WOR Radio, the talk of New York.
Ho, ho, ho. Ho, ho, ho. Hey, speaking of books, we just signed a contract this week. For those of you that are following the world of literature, we just signed a contract this week for Wanda Hickey's Night of Golden Memories, and In God We Trust, All Others Pay Cash, to be made into a Warner Brothers movie. Yes, that's right. Right, Warner. Mm-hmm. And we're starting work on the scripto this week. Thank you. Right. It'll be out about, according to the schedule, sometime in the spring. About roughly a year from now. After all, it takes a long time for them ostriches to sit on them eggs. That's right. But, well, now, wait a minute. Now, okay, it's time now for a story. You don't mind if I tell you a story? Right, okay. Well, you know, they get a little uptight around here about commercials. You can't mess around with stories anymore. You got to tell, you know, the story here is DEAUX, bucks. That's the story. But, yeah, that's right. So I'll tell you a story, though. This is a very nervous day for me. No, Valentine's Day is a day that has been fraught with danger in my life. And, yeah, some guys get nervous about Halloween. I never did, you know. I'm not afraid of pumpkins with teeth carved in them. That never got me scared. But it's Halloween that some people get nervous about. Others get nervous about Christmas. Christmas I've always dug. I really did. You know, I always like Thanksgiving is a nice holiday too. But this one, this can be dangerous. That's right. And it was dangerous for me. There was a girl in this class one time. Of course, you know, for those of you who think they don't do this any longer, you just haven't been in any grade school recently. But do you know that all grade schools, most grade schools anyway, still make Valentines? In fact, they had a report on television last night they took the cameras and all these kids were sitting around making Valentines. And they looked exactly like classical Valentines, you know, with the red heart and with the white lace around the side and all that with the paste and everything. And it's kind of great to see this. You see, this is a true tradition. Well, it is. It is really. No, it's no way to put it down. It is. And I had this teacher one time, Miss Robinette, and she loved these holidays. And every holiday we would have a big thing. This was in 3rd grade. Every holiday we'd have actually it was 5th grade. That was different. That was Miss Nelson in 3rd. She'd have a big thing every Halloween. We'd all come and dress in costume and all that stuff. And guys tend to pick, out of their, when guys pick their costumes for Halloween parties, tend to be, there's going to be a whole new school of psychology developed on that. The guys tend to be seriously what they really are. But you see a guy dresses as a bum when he comes to a Halloween party. He picked that for a reason. There's a real psychology behind that. You see other guys dressing as Napoleon. That's right. There's a reason for it. You see other guys come dressed as their Aunt Clara. There's a reason for that, too. So, it's all there, it's a yard wide. So I'm not here to, probe your psyche, even though it's got a scab on it, a yard wide. I'm here, nevertheless, to tell you just the way it was. I'm sitting in this class, see, and Miss Robinette, every time we'd have a holiday, we'd go through about a week before the holiday. We'd prepare for it. So before Christmas, we would all be drawing Santa Clauses and cutting out green Christmas trees for the walls and all that stuff, and making popcorn and jazz. And then before, say, Thanksgiving, we would have a play. We put on a play. All guys that dressed like pilgrims, other guys that dressed like turkeys. And you could tell the guys that were going into showbiz already then. They were dressing like turkeys. And then we'd have oral hygiene week. And one time I came dressed as a, she just assigned the roles. You didn't pick them. I was once as a decayed molar. And I had this tooth costume with a great big decayed spot on the side. And, people just didn't want to hang around with me because, Dawn Strickland came dressed as a toothbrush. But, that was my Dawn Strickland stage. I had a thing on a girl named Dawn Strickland. Isn't it a great name, Dawn Strickland? Later went on and married a European nobleman, believe it or not, that set the whole damn town on its you-know-what. And there I was. What chance you got against a European nobleman, when you're living on Cleveland Street? No way. So, anyway, there was this girl, a fantastic girl. If you're a girl aficionado, now I'm only addressing this to people who are girl fans. And I'm not, I'm making no value judgments. I'm just saying that there are some people among us that are sport fans. Others like hockey, which is not essentially a sport. It's more of a kind of really a riot. There are other people who like beer. Yes, and I am a girl fan. I admit it, frankly. So if talking about girls and that bores you, you're just going to have to be bored for this moment. I'm a fantastic girlfriend. Girl, just really fan of girls. It really got me. So, and it started, I have to say, I first began to recognize there was something drastically different about girls, from me and Schwartz. At about, I would say, I was about in 2nd grade. I began to suspect it as early as 1st grade. But I began to really be aware that there was a profound difference, And whatever the difference was, it was extremely interesting. It was not only extremely interesting, it was almost overpoweringly interesting. And, I'd sweat thinking about it. That hasn't stopped either. So, these things stick with you. Just terrible. Your early hang-ups never go, So by the time I was in 5th grade, it was fully developed, this fantastic interest. I was becoming more selective, too. You see, earlier, in 1st and 2nd grade, anything that was a girl was, tremendously intriguing to me. But as time went on, I began to see there was differences even among girls. Not only was there a difference between us and them, there was quantitative and qualitative differences within the ranks, the species itself. So by the time I was in 5th grade, I was a fully dedicated girl fan. I kept it to myself. I didn't talk much about it to my friends because I was vaguely, for some reason, I was vaguely ashamed of it. All the boys, the guys used to say, girls, what are you talking about? but secretly, every last one of us, peeking around the edges of our geography books and stuff. See, and only later that we just frankly admitted it. I mean, later on, when you got to be a freshman in high school, you used to just simply say, let's go out and look for girls. That came later. Yeah, there was a phrase we had. I don't know whether you've ever heard it. It's called scragging. You always go scragging. That didn't mean anything. It sounds very lascivious, but it wasn't. All it meant was driving around in Flick's Ford and yelling at girls out of the window in a car. That was called scragging. And if you got any reaction at all, like someone would throw stuff at the car, that was considered highly erotic. So, nevertheless, about 5th grade, there was this girl moved in. During the summer, she came into the school there, and she lived in another neighborhood about 8, 9, maybe 10 blocks away, like an alien neighborhood. But she was going to our school. Unbelievable. And when I think back on her today, even now, I mean, there's no question about it. She's one of the greatest women I ever saw in my life. This girl looked like, I'll tell you who she looked like. Did you ever remember seeing a cartoon strip called Boots and Her Buddies? Did you ever hear that strip? Yeah, you heard of it, Marty. Boots and Her Buddies. Well, do you remember how Boots looked? Yeah, all right, vaguely, but she was a real great-looking blonde, and extremely, really. All I could say is that, let's put it this way, she had the total dynamism. She was really dynamic. She had just a great personality, so she just radiated. And what's more, she was back in our part of the alphabet. Yeah, usually the great-looking chicks are always up in the front of the room. See, Eileen Akers. She was always up in the front of her. We could only see her in the distance. Me and Schwartz and all the guys in the back there, we'd just see them up there. We'd just see the back of their head once in a while. And they were always hanging around with the tall, skinny guys. We had certain guys in our school. There's always a group of tall, skinny guys who go on to become Rhodes Scholars, play for Princeton, all that stuff. They just ladle the cream off of everything, So we had to settle for what we could get in the back there. They would filter on back to us, see. So, nevertheless, she was assigned to the back of the room. Her name was Romeli. Yeah, it started with an R. And Patty. And she came back there, and I want to tell you, she galvanized the back end of the class. I mean, up to this point, it had been Helen Weathers, she was bowling ball with feet. Helen Weathers. And Helen Weathers, she'd sweat 24 hours a day, so there was no mystery about Helen Weathers. The mystery was how she was going around pretending to be a girl. That's what really mystified us. But, we had, to tell you the truth, but she came into the back of the room there, and I want to tell you, it just completely galvanized the whole back of the room there. Things changed drastically. Doppler, for one brief week, when Doppler used to come around and see us there. And then Schwartz, 1 week. I'll never forget Schwartz, 1 week. Schwartz, the first and only time, for 1 solid week, actually combed his hair. He was making a big play. He said, well, Schwartz, a joke. She'd just as soon date a sea lion as date Schwartz, who looked a little like a sea lion, So Schwartz would comb his hair, He always says, he says, there's no reason for combing his hair. We'd catch him in the john, combing his hair. He had an ace comb, and he's combing his hair, the guy with the clip on it. So everybody was trying his little ploys, see. And my brief ploy was, I tried the Twinkie ploy. Twinkies come 2 to a package, if you remember, see. And there's nothing more romantic than to share a banana Twinkie. If somebody's willing to share. And I offered her half the Twinkie one day. It was lunchtime, of course. And it was so embarrassing because I didn't realize that not only was Patty Romeli great looking, but she came from a totally different social strata than I came from. She came, to begin with, as you go higher up the social strata, they become more health conscious. You understand that? Yes, it's only the upper middle class that eats granola. This is, let's face it, granola is an upper middle class thing. It has nothing to do with nature. It's definitely a class food. As you go further on down, it's the first time you heard this kind of honesty in the air, is that as you go further on down the line, they're still scoffing, cornflakes. They get even further down, they're eating oatmeal, mud or oats, and cream of wheat. And as you go further up, though, they get more and more nature conscious. They think they're involved in nature. See, granola is like nothing in nature. It's a man concept. But nevertheless, I offered her a Twinkie. She said, "A what?" I said, "Well, Twinkie." I figured everybody knew about Twinkies, But you come from a certain social strata, and the Twinkie's only a thing that's very faintly heard of. Yeah, that's right. So she said, no. She said, "I don't think so." What is? I showed her the Twinkie. She said, "You mean you eat those?" And I said, "Yes." She said, "How do you eat them?" She figured you peeled them or something. So I stick it in there. Well, I had a technique. I would bite the end off and squeeze the stuff out, first. Well, that's a variation of the Oreo cookie technique, when you take the two halves apart and you eat the white stuff first, and then try to get your friends to eat the rest of it. But nevertheless, so I'm sitting there. And she's just beautiful, And there she is sitting right in the middle of the class every day, and I was falling madly in love with her. And then came Valentine's Day, a little romantic music, Barney, just a little. You see, we had up in the front of the class for better than a week, we had a box that Miss Robinette insisted that we make, covered with white lace and red crepe paper hearts. And there was a slit on the top. And we were supposed to put into the box a Valentine for whoever we want to send a Valentine to. So on Valentine's Day, all the Valentines were handed out. Naturally, every one of us got a Valentine from Miss Robinette. I got a Valentine from Helen Weathers. Yes, it was sealed with sweat. And, I "Hi, how are you, Helen?" She looked at me from under that little football helmet type hairdo she wore, Helen Weathers. And I was, and then, right in the middle of it, I'll never forget it. I got a couple of other Valentines, and from totally nondescript kids. There was a Valentine. It said, "Come to my house after school for a Valentine's Day party. Be my Valentine." Signed, Patty. Oh my God. Oh, stop it, Marty. Well, I'll tell you, I really broke into a cold sweat. I got a Valentine's invitation from Patty, so I ran home. I told my mother. And she said, "You're going to Patty Romeli's house?" I said, "Yes." Oh, she knew about the Romeli, very important type ladies and people, live there. And I said, "Yes." She says, "Well, here," she says, "you take this for a Valentine's Day gift for her. If you're going to a party." I'm all dressed up now. And she gave me a box of Whitman samplers that she was going to give to her sister. For Valentine's. She says, "Here, you take this." So I go all the way down to Patty Romeli's house. I go up the steps, and I got the Whitman sampler. I knock on the door. The door opens, and there's Mrs. Romeli. She says, "Yes?" I said, "I'm here for Patty's party." She says, "Patty's party? What party? We're not having a party today." She says, "Patty's at her uncle's house." I said, "No party?" She says, "No." She says, "Someone must have played a trick on you." And I turned around, the door closes, and I walk across, and I can hear Schwartz under the porch of Patty Romeli's house laughing like hell. Schwartz and Flick. I walked down between the privet hedges with my box of Whitman samplers. You remember the Whitman samplers? A little guy walking with the... Right. Ever since I've seen those boxes in windows now, I break out into a sweat. And I'm unbelievably embarrassed. Unbelievably embarrassed. And I went home by myself that day. And my mother said, "Did you have a good time at the party?" I said, "Yes." It was okay. She's a girl. Never came up again. Except, I will tell you this, there was an aftermath with Schwartz and Flick, which we will not discuss at this time. That's another story. Oh, Valentine. This is WOR New York. Stay tuned for In Conversation.